What is up, guys? Trey Bell here with Bell Outdoors, and today we're going to be talking slip bobbers, why you would use them, how to set them up, and I'm also going to have a short video of me using a slip bobber out wading in, so you can check that out. If you want to skip this section, you can go straight to me fishing shortly after this, okay? Just fast forward. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. I truly appreciate it and it helps me out. Now let's talk about why we would use a slip bobber. Slip bobbers allow me to alter the depth of where I want to fish so I can put that bait right in the fish's mouth or in their face, essentially. So how you can do that is through a bobber stop, which you will need for this video, and a bead. Now this I just bought the other day at Sportsman Warehouse. It's essentially just a little knot on a tube that you can slide off in your line and tie the knot, and then below it goes a bead, and then we have a slip bobber down to a swivel, and then that goes down to a jig head through a line leader. So if you need any of those items before you watch this video, go ahead and grab those. You can pause the video and then we'll move forward. So why else do I like slip bobbers? I like slip bobbers because it doesn't take away from my cast distance. So that bobber is going to slide up and down the line, but when I cast, it stays right near that swivel. And so if I'm wading, like you'll see later, I can still cast out without having a bobber fixed to my line. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into how to set this up. It's fairly easy. What you're gonna need is a fishing rod, obviously, and this is your beginning. You'll want to hold your line in your hand. Now I use 10-pound braid, but you essentially can use whatever line that you like using or whatever is on your fishing rod already. I like braid because it adds to the sensitivity of the bite, and it's also very stiff, so setting the hook, I know that when I pull back, that braid is coming with me. There's no stretch like in mono. Okay, so now that that's said, we're going to start by putting on this little tube on our line. Here, slide that through. Now you can pull this little bobber stopper off, slide that on your line, and pull this tube off. This is trash now. Now, I don't cinch it down until I go fishing because I don't know what depth the fish are hanging out at, if that makes any sense. You can adjust that once you get out there. And then I add my bead here. Boom. And then the most essential part, the slip bobber, which might take me a second to put on. There you go. You just slide your line through the top of the bobber all the way through the bottom. Okay? Store, they're very easy to find. I like buying the manufactured ones because I can use them over and over again. If you just want to be cheap and buy the foam ones, they work just fine too. Just make sure that they will remain floating, and whatever size jig head or weight you're using won't sink that bobber. Okay? We almost got that through. There we go. Okay, now we have that set up. Now, you can either put a weight here or at the bottom of your line. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Why would you want the weight at the bottom of your line? Now, if you're fishing deep water and you just want to use a jig head like this, then that is going to go pull straight down, get right in the fish's face. If you like that presentation, like if you want something brighter, you can have like a chartreuse or a pink, and that way it gets the fish's attention. But if they're more finicky and you just want to use a regular hook, like this 1/0 Gamakatsu hook, like that, it's going to be a little bit less of a presentation, and if they're on a finicky bite, that's maybe how you want to set it up. Now, we'll just do that today. So I'm going to add this sliding weight at the bottom of my bobber. Now, whatever depth you're fishing at, how fast you want the weight to drop depends. I wouldn't go over a 1/4 ounce weight, really. You know, I think this is what it is, just because it takes away from the presentation. But if you're fishing, you know, big game out in salt water, super deep, and you want something heavier, that's fine. All right, but if you do that, make sure it won't sink your bobber. So I use that little 1/4 ounce And I personally add an additional bead because of that style weight, that bullet weight, because it fits a little bit more smooth on there and also adds a little bit of noise if it clinks in the water. But that's me personally. You definitely don't have to do that. You can definitely get an egg weight that will slide up and down, no problem. That's just what I have in my tackle box, obviously. So then you're going to want to tie it down to a swivel. Swivel size varies as well. I just use this same generic style and it works just fine. So down to an improved clinch knot. Tie that on real quick. Okay. If you want to learn how to tie an improved clinch knot, I will be posting a video later, probably next week, on how to do that. Very easy. Okay, so let's recap. We have bobber stop, a bead so that that bobber won't slide over that bobber stop, a weight, another bead, and then our swivel, right? And you can clip off any excess. I don't have very much, so I'll just probably leave that, no big deal. Now let's talk about our leader. Okay, I have 10-pound fluorocarbon here. Now, if you need to put 15, whatever you're more comfortable with, whatever size fish you're catching, always kind of overshoot it a little bit, you know, but I don't think I'm going to catch a walleye over 10 pounds in my fishery. Now, you're going to want to get about 2 feet of line on here. So let's take that into consideration when you're trying to adjust your depth. Now, you're not just adjusting it on the top of the braid, you're considering that you have 2 feet of leader on, and now you don't want to use too long of a leader because then when you cast, it's going to be wrapping around your bobber and your swivel and your weight and just be causing a mess. Keep it shorter because it allows you to cast a little longer distance, okay? Now let's clip this line about at 1.5 or 2 feet. Good deal. Okay, and let's tie that on the end of our swivel. We have our setup now. Very easy, very effective way to fish. And finally, at the end, we'll just tie on our hook. I use 1/0 Gary Yakamoto or whatever they're called hooks. Gamakatsu, that's what it is. Improved clinch knot again, or Palomar, whatever you want to use, whatever your go-to. And there you have it, folks. That is the setup. Remember, not too long of a leader. Get your bobber stop on there, and when you get out and you start fishing, you can adjust this guy to however long you're fishing. Now, when it is cinched down, don't cinch it down too tight. It won't slide. It'll run through your eyelets just fine. Snip off those edges so you have a nice, smooth knot. Okay? Perfect. All right. Stick around. You can watch me fishing this setup in action out on the water. I believe I used an FG knot as my bobber stop last time. Just ignore that. If you want to use the bobber stop, no problem. If you want to learn how to tie an FG knot, I will be posting a video about that in the next coming weeks, and I'll put that link in the description. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the next section of the video. What's up, guys? It is Trey Bell here with Bell Outdoors, and today we are just going to be throwing some slip bobbers with leeches. I got a good hint yesterday that the bite was really on. So first thing we're going to talk about is just the setup. So on this line here, I have an FG knot up there. You can use either that or a bobber stop, a simple bead on the top, and a slip bobber. You run it all the way through your line, all the way to a swivel, and then down to a jig head. All we're gonna do is just put the leech on there, chunk it out, similar to when you were a kid, and just let it sit for about 5 minutes. If it's not there, then go cast to your right, left, fan cast all the way around, and hopefully we get on some walleye today. So let's get after it. So he's fine. There, I actually set the hook decent. Alright. So, what is my opinion on slip bobber fishing? I think it's effective, especially for walleye. So I fished all day yesterday, didn't get a single walleye, and then I talked to a fisherman. He's like, oh, the only way I'm catching them right now is on a slip bobber with leeches because they're real finicky. Up here it's getting really warm. You know, I think yesterday was like in the high 90s, low hundreds. It was ridiculously hot. And so the fish kind of turn off. And so just a way to counteract that is just using bait, old school. And so I think it's an effective method. It's more fun than it looks. It was really tough for me to kind of figure out initially, but I think that it was just the hook set. So what I did there that was different was just reeling down and really making sure that fish had that leech in his mouth, and then really hard hook set. I tightened the crap out of my drag because I missed a fish like that earlier. My drag was loose. So yeah, definitely, it works. Before you go, real quick tip. What I meant to say in the video was when you're setting the hook, make sure your drag is tight and that when that bobber goes down, reel down that slack, hard hook set. I think it's a little easier on a boat because then you're up on top of it and you can really reel down, feel that fish, and set the hook. While I was wade fishing, I missed a couple fish because I was waist deep in water and I had a hard time getting that slack out and timing that hook set right. So that is my tip real quick. Please like and subscribe below if you like this video. I really appreciate you watching this video. God bless.